Police officers of Reddit, what are some laws that you feel uncomfortable enforcing because you disagree with them? It's not a specified law as such, but in the UK people can use reasonable force to protect themselves, others and property act. Obviously everyone has their own interpretation of what reasonable force is, but I remember going to one job where a bloke was sat on his couch with a beer while watching TV when a drunk bloke has just walked straight into his living room via the front door. A confrontation ensued and the drunk trespasser had become aggressive and a fight ensued. Long story short, the trespasser was given a proper shoe-in, so much so he's ended up in the street where he has then called the police. We attended and his injuries were substantial enough that the house occupant was arrested for grievous bodily harm, GBH, and it most definitely rubbed me the wrong way in being involved in that job because I totally sympathized with the guy and felt any of us would have probably done the same thing if we were in his position. Someone on Reddit was literally just arguing with me that you cannot get arrested for defending yourself inside of your home. I said that most laws require you to run away from your home if someone is trying to hurt you. It depends on the state in the US. There's castle doctrine for some, which means you have a right to defend your home, often including deadly force. In some cases, this has applied to the workplace as well. There's stand your ground for others, which means you can fight back against any aggression against you or your property, regardless of where you are. One guy stabbed another man to death after chasing him down the street in Florida. The guy had stolen his car radio. These laws are sometimes also called no duty to retreat laws. Other states do have a duty to retreat legal perspective, which says that if you are attacked, your first option is to establish/attempt to escape first. So, if you're being attacked in the street, you would try to run away/hide first. The duty to retreat rarely occurs in property matters, from my understanding, and is now rather uncommon in the US. Arresting homeless people. We usually just bring them in but forget to file paperwork on them, so they get a warm bed, breakfast, and no record. I live in a high-poverty, high-alcoholism area, and we have a community van which has the sole purpose of picking up inebriates and taking them to drunk tank so they don't die of exposure. So here is one that bugs me. John leaves the bar feeling okay, gets in the car and starts to drive home. During the drive he realizes that he's drunker than he thought, or his BAC is still ramping up from his last drink. Yes, you can be drunker a half hour after leaving a bar. He makes the decision to not drive the rest of the way home and pulls off the road at a rest stop or a parking lot, puts the car in park, turns off the headlights but leaves it running to listen to the radio, run the heat or AC, whatever, moves the seat back and starts sleeping it off a little. At that point he is not driving while intoxicated, he did drive while intoxicated but realized he was impaired and stopped. Maybe if he's obnoxious or was obviously severely impaired. I argued with my instructor about this. The goal is to not have drunks on the road. The drunk got off the road on his own. If we pop those people for DWI, the lesson learned and retold to all of their drunk friends is, if you start to drive drunk, don't stop, keep driving, all the way home. Of course it's ideal if they Uber or have a DD, take a cab or public transport, but I'd rather have people who went a little overboard comfortable with the idea of getting off the damned road as soon as they realize it than thinking they have to make it all the way home or get a DWI. Then they hit some family car with a baby in the car seat. Traffic tickets. I'd pull people over, give a verbal warning about whatever dumb or unsafe thing they just did, check for warrants and let them go. I got funny looks for the blank spot in my work card where the tickets were supposed to go, but since it's illegal to officially or unofficially have a quota system, it could never be used against me in my job evaluation. I commute daily on a major West Coast interstate. I've really started to believe that traffic stops along the freeway are more dangerous than just letting the guy speed or drive without valid registration. The traffic always gets jammed up because people slow down or merge lanes at the sight of the traffic stop, and have seen more people rear-end someone or get run off the road because there's a traffic stop ahead affecting traffic flow. When I was a parking officer, there was an internal policy about not ticketing cars parked in this very wealthy neighborhood even if it was clearly an unsafe violation. They would park their trailers or small boats very close to intersections, and that made it dangerous to navigate around there. Because there were too many big wigs, we could have risked our jobs if we ticketed someone there, so they decided to not have the parking officers enforce it. Edit, thanks for my first silver kind stranger. Now I want to address a couple things. 1. My superiors expressed distaste for this policy when telling us about this, so they felt no pleasure this rule. This has more to do with certain elected officials than the police in this case. 2. I know a lot of people want me to leak this, but I have no substantial evidence to leak something so off the books for a local news source. We were only told this verbally once. Plus confidentiality would be a concern due to the small amount of people that are hired for this job and could likely be easily guessed on via process of elimination. Prior to legalization here in Canada, my city for years had a marijuana-related arrest rate almost 70% lower than the national average. This is in a college town where students make up 20% of the population, so it's not like there wasn't a lot of it in town. There wasn't any policy or directive regarding marijuana issued. It was just a result of all officers personally turning a blind eye to pot unless the citizen was being a jerk. I knew a cop that didn't want kids to get poisoned by marijuana, his words, but didn't want to arrest them, or give them more trouble or mess up their future if they face that jerk of a judge. So, when he caught them with marijuana, he would just have them throw it away in the gutter, and let them go, without even taking their name. Most college kids understood that it was a good deal for them. Sure, it's some money DPW in the drain, but you'd walk away as if nothing happened. Others would try to fight him, or refuse to throw the stuff, and get aggressive toward him, and he had to arrest them. Not so surprisingly, oftentimes they had a record for more serious crimes. Not a cop, but my buddy is. He absolutely hates pulling traffic stops and giving tickets unless the person is doing something super reckless. He thinks for the most part they're useless and add to the community's dislike of police. Not to mention they're statistically pretty dangerous for him. I'm mixed on this. On one hand, yeah, pulling someone over for not using their signal, or California stopping at a stop sign, speed traps and the like, that's all bullshit. On the other hand, I think people do selfish/inconsiderate moves because they know they're not gonna get a ticket. Blocking the intersection, changing lanes in the intersection so I end up blocking it, parking on crosswalks, etc. Sometimes I fantasize about a police force that does broken window policing, but only on traffic. I'd probably lose my own license though, so there's that. Edit, clearly I'm not using the right term with California stop. I'm talking about when you roll up to a stop sign at like 2 to 3 miles per hour, there's nobody coming or trying to cross the street, so you start going again. I'm not talking about just barreling through the intersection like a savage. Driving while impaired with resulting grievous injury or death. There's a statute on the books where I work that prohibits any amount of Schedule I drugs in your bloodstream while operating a vehicle. Marijuana is still illegal here and is still classed as a Schedule I drug, by state law. If you are unaware, the byproducts of marijuana use can be detected in your blood weeks after your high has passed. That means that you could legally smoke marijuana in any one of several nearby states where it is completely legal to do so, wait a few weeks, come to my state, get crashed into while stopped at a red light with the other driver completely at fault, pass the field sobriety test with flying colors, then get banged for our version of driving while impaired with resulting grievous injury or death. I didn't actually know the marijuana provision per se DWI statute when I joined the county-wide crash team as an evaluator. Someone told me a story about a guy they'd done who been completely faultless in an accident wherein 2 people had died and had admitted to smoking marijuana a few weeks earlier. That had formed the basis for a search warrant and he was convicted of the felony based on the blood work. I started advising unimpaired, faultless drivers of the marijuana provision. The attorney told me to stop, so I quit the team.